Have you ever felt like someone keeps you hanging just enough to keep your interest, but never fully commits? In a nutshell, that's breadcrumbing and what we're going to talk about here today. Breadcrumbing is a tactic that is commonly used by narcissists and toxic people to keep you in their orbit without giving you what you actually truly deserve. We'll break down breadcrumbing, what it is, how to recognize it, and what to do if you feel like you might be experiencing breadcrumbing. I've even put together a quiz for you, completely free, that I will put in the show notes and in the comments, so that if you think you might be getting breadcrumbed, you can go ahead and take that and see what the results are.
Give it up for the author of You're My Favorite,
Author Ginny Preem.
Let's give it up for
Ginny Preem, everybody.
Hi, I'm Ginny Preem. I am a speaker, an author, and a life coach. I also have the podcast Drinking with Gin, and I'm so happy to be here with you today to talk about breadcrumbing. What breadcrumbing is basically giving somebody just enough attention, just enough affection to keep them interested and kind of string them along. Narcissists use this tactic often, and it can be really confusing because the breadcrumbing typically comes after the idealization phase. That's when they do the love bombing. They are putting you on a pedestal, showering you with gifts, affection, time, compliments. So then when they retreat and then maybe come back, sometimes they will use this breadcrumbing, which makes it really confusing. Now, breadcrumbing will play out differently in different types of relationships, in romantic relationships versus friendships versus in the workplace. I think most often people do relate to breadcrumbing in romantic relationships, so in that kind of dating scene. But it will play out differently in different situations. But the end result, if you are on the receiving end of breadcrumbing in all of these situations, is, like I said, it might leave you feeling confused, might lead you to having self-doubt or feeling really anxious because the other person, the person that's doing the breadcrumbing, is never fully invested in the relationship. So at work, it might lead you to, you get a little compliment here and there, so you work harder and you're doubting yourself. You're doubting the work that you're putting in, which is really unhealthy. In friendships, it might lead you to get really excited anytime they do want to spend time or invest in that relationship. And then in romantic relationships, it's very layered. So we're going to get into some of that. So let's talk about the how and why narcissists and toxic people use this breadcrumbing technique. First and foremost, it's about control and power. They are controlling and manipulating your emotions to keep you invested in having some sort of a relationship with them. This keeps you emotionally dependent on them, which control is often their goal. Control is their goal. Future faking is another component of breadcrumbing. This is when they make promises for things in the future that are never actually going to happen. Well, we're going to go to dinner. We are going to go on that trip. We're going to move in together. They future fake and they make these promises of things that they're never actually going to commit to, but it keeps you interested in the relationship. It keeps you interested in moving things along. So you stay invested as you are waiting for these things to happen that you've been promised. There's also this concept of intermittent reinforcement, which means that they are giving you just enough affection, just enough praise, just enough attention to keep you craving more. So when they do give it to you, it's really exciting and it feels good. It kind of gives you that dopamine hit that you're looking for. But then when they're not giving it to you, it might make you feel anxious, waiting for the next time that they're going to give you that attention and engage with you. Hot and cold behavior is a very common tactic that narcissists use. So where they come in hot, they back away. Also, how hot and cold can show up is they might treat you differently in public than they do in private. So this can also be a component of breadcrumbing, but just overall narcissism and toxic people. So that inconsistent behavior is another indicator of breadcrumbing. And another way that breadcrumbing shows up is when they start comparing you to others. Well, my ex never did that. None of my exes behaved this way. My friends don't do that. This comparing you to others then makes you start to feel a little bit insecure about your own behavior, your own desire for an authentic connection with this person. And it makes you feel like you have to earn their attention. Now that we've talked about what breadcrumbing is, how narcissists and toxic people use it, let's talk about 6 different signs that you might be getting breadcrumbed. And don't forget, I do have that totally free quiz for you to take linked here. Number 1, they disappear and then reappear with no good explanation, or not a very good explanation. They only reach out to you when they need something from you. Number 3, and I talk about this consistently, look for inconsistencies. Do their promises and their words align with their actions? Believe what people show you. This is such a big one across the board. Certainly it does have to do with breadcrumbing, but do people's promises and actions align with their words? Are you seeing consistency, or is there a misalignment there? Number 4, do you constantly feel confused or unsure about where things stand with you and this person? Do you constantly feel like maybe are they mad at you? Why did they disappear? Do they actually like me? Where are we at in this relationship? Are we a couple? Are we dating? Are we not? This is another key indicator. Number 5, do you find yourself making excuses for their inconsistent behavior? Maybe you say things like, oh, they're just not ready, or they're really busy, or they're just too busy right now. They've got a lot going on, and making excuses for bad behavior. And number 6, you find yourself feeling emotionally drained by this relationship, by engaging with this person, by not engaging with this person, just by having them in your life in some capacity. It is causing you emotional drain, mental strain, but you still crave their attention and you still seek their approval. If you've gotten this far, you might be relating to some of this content around breadcrumbing. So if so, go ahead, hit that subscribe, hit that follow button, or maybe you have someone in mind that needs to hear this message and this information. Maybe they've been struggling with a relationship and haven't really been able to wrap their heads around what's going on. Go ahead and share this with them. Share this with them so that they can take the quiz and find out for themselves. And if you've gotten this far, here are some tips on how to recognize and break free from this toxic pattern and cycle. First thing is shift your perspective. Having the awareness of understanding this pattern is a huge first step. So if you have gotten this far, like I said, congratulations. The second thing is unsubscribing and detaching from any illusions that we have about this person that they are going to change. This is one of the hard and fast rules with narcissists, is that they don't change. They don't improve their behavior. Another thing that you can do is set boundaries. I like to call them personal policies, and making sure that you are enforcing them. So if you are not going to engage in this relationship anymore, or if you are not going to reach out to them, and that is now a personal policy of yours, then you have to enforce it and stick with it. They can't be empty promises. But having boundaries is not about controlling other people. It's about deciding what you are willing to engage in and what you're not willing to engage in. So setting up those personal policies, or AKA boundaries, and making sure that you are enforcing them and sticking true to them to protect yourself. This is maybe one of the most important ones, and for a lot of people, the most difficult. Prioritize and understand your value and your self-worth. You deserve more. You deserve for someone to be fully and authentically invested in relationships with you, no matter what type of relationship it is. Family, romantic, friends, in the workplace. You deserve that. And sometimes that is the hardest thing for people to recognize. I do have a whole slew of resources, some free, a bunch of different price points that can help you understand your self-worth, your value, and what you deserve over on my website, jennypreem.com. As it relates to that, one of the things that I often say is who you select to be around you is a direct reflection of how much you value yourself. So let that sink in for a second and think about who you are surrounding yourself with, because we are only as good as the company we keep. If the situation is dire enough and it's leaving you feeling confused, anxious, all of these things that we talked about earlier, you may have to choose to break free and end the cycle once and for all. It may be time to choose to go no contact or minimal contact with this person if no contact is not an option. But if it is leaving you in this spiral and you're having all of these different emotions around the potential breadcrumbing that you might be experiencing, it might be time to really evaluate that relationship and what the impact is that it's having on your life. I often talk about emotional bank accounts. And so paying attention to, are you feeling like you get a deposit when you have these interactions? Does your bank account feel like it's constantly steady, taking huge withdrawals, huge deposits that you're getting, but just paying attention to your emotions overall in these different relationships with people. And if you are constantly feeling drained, anxious, confused, it might be time to go no contact. And another important component of breaking free from these patterns and behaviors is really working on yourself. And if you're here, that's exactly what you're doing. You're getting the information and getting the tips on how to move forward, work on your personal growth, invest in yourself, focus on the healing process. And as I just talked about the emotional bank accounts, invest in the relationships that are suited for you. So if you need to unsubscribe from and block this person out of your life, that's going to open up more space for you to invest in the healthy, meaningful, valuable, uplifting relationships in your life. So after all of this, if you do feel like you have been being breadcrumbed, I just want to leave you with a few quick thoughts. You were never asking for too much. You deserve everything that you've been asking for. You were just asking for it from the wrong person. Real love and respect and authentic, meaningful relationships don't come in just little crumbs. They come in full, nourishing connections that you are worthy of. And I want to remind you that walking away from breadcrumbing isn't actually losing anything at all. You're not losing that person. You're just going to get yourself back. And it makes that space and that room in your life to invest in those truly meaningful relationships that you are deserving of. It makes space for something real. So this is really your opportunity to begin to understand, recognize, and know your value. Trust your worth so that you can begin to walk on your path towards more genuine, meaningful connections. I can't wait to see you next time.